Right. That's right. We got a life. The
We
Life Domain
have
Cleric.
lives, finally.
We have lives as of this week. It's long in coming. It's been a long road, Melly. I know you and I did a lot of work to get us here.
We did. Yes, us personally worked really, really hard to make this happen. We
I
deserve.
came in a month ago and I said, I ain't taking this job until there is a fully supported Life Domain Cleric on the way for these people. I did that for you. I did that for you at home. Thank you guys watching the dev update. I didn't do that, by the way. There are some very amazing people that worked very hard on this for a long time. You're gonna meet them. That sound good?
You are going to meet them because we definitely do not deserve that credit. We are just smiling at you.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm the paid clown, and Melly is your paid community manager.
Yeah, I'm your best friend.
Yeah, she's your best friend, and I'm your uncle that shows up every now and then and is just like, hey, kid, you want some jokes and you want to try a cigarette? Okay, let's move into the roadmap really quick before I just start offering our customer base Camel Lights. Hey guys, you want to know what's coming up soon here in D&D Beyond? Here we go. Here's what's ready now. Candlekeep Mysteries on sale on the D&D Beyond marketplace. Gonna sound a little bit like an infomercial here at the top, and I apologize, but also available now. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, available for pre-order. That is going to come with all of the usual very cool perks of frames, themes, colors, dice, backdrops. It's going to look really cool. So make sure you get your pre-order of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Hey, Mel, you know what's coming soon? Our timeline of now, soon, and soon.
I don't know. I'm just here to hear you tell me what's coming soon. So
okay, I mean, for you, it was like rhetorical, I guess.
Oh, okay.
You know,
well,
you're in these meetings. You're in these meetings, same as me. Coming up next,
pretending we didn't know. I was trying to make it a thing.
Coming up, I'm actually gonna. I'll talk spell management a little bit with something that's coming soonish, but coming soon. We've talked about this a little bit on the show with Andrew coming on to talk about it a little bit, and that's dice rolling on monster stat blocks. It is what it sounds like. So this is going to obviously allow DMs to be able to roll directly off monster stat blocks on the combat tracker. DMs will not be able to share those dice rolls yet. That's coming next quarter, so they're still working on that aspect of it. And we're releasing all monsters at once. So once this releases in the soon window, all monsters will be able to DMs will be able to roll on all monster stat blocks, and then again, being able to share those dice rolls coming later in the year, but like sooner rather than later, like soonish. Yeah.
Yeah, our ish time of soon is a pretty nice place to be.
Exactly. No, thank you. Also coming soonish, an extension, a Twitch extension update. So basically, this is going to be an integration of character data. This real technical engineering stuff here. So basically what this is going to do, I said the word integration and I was like, whoa, guys, this is engineer talk. Sorry. I'm an idiot, not you. Right, Sarah? Thank you. So this update is going to allow for the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything characters to be available in the extension. The work is sort of getting started on this right now. They're working on it currently. So yeah, so that's coming out soon-ish. So that's going to be a nice Tasha's update for all of you fans of that lovely witch. And then finally coming soonish, and we'll actually be having a dev update dedicated to this coming up soon. The DDB consolidated app, and so that is going to include spell management on Android and iOS. So that's coming soonish. We'll be talking to you guys more about some really cool, big updates to the D&D Beyond app here in the next few weeks. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it. But hey, Melly, I know what the people really want to hear about today.
Me too.
I think it's about the Life Domain Cleric. I'm very excited about this. Again, I'm a moron and not qualified to talk to you about the journey that has been the Life Domain Cleric, but it's pretty cool. And I just realized I made some weird font decisions in this next slide, so you get a prize if you spot the font size mistake. That said, Julie Hawkins is coming back to the show, software engineer with the company. You know her, you adore her, and joining Julie is Jason Bush, a software engineering manager here at the company. Hey, welcome to the Dev Update, you two.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Hey, Julie, you've already said enough that people know you. Don't get cocky. Stop being so cocky. They haven't met Jason, I don't think, or at least not in my tenure here.
I definitely haven't been on yet, so I don't believe they've met me yet.
Well, hey, Jason, explain yourself.
So I've been with the company for about 3 years, been working with D&D Beyond, and had the opportunity to manage the team that is responsible for the character sheet and the character builder and all the fun stuff that we get to do as characters. I have heard, since the beginning, all the things that people want, and I've been working hard to try to get those things as quickly as possible, while also managing all those less fun things. If anybody remembers the character service migration from last year, you'll definitely know some of those unfun things as well. So
the less sexy stuff is usually the most important, I feel like. And I want to jump into some questions with the Life Domain Cleric update with you two. Well, let's start with the obvious, just so everyone's on the same page with everything that is now available for the subclass. Julie, like what all, when we're like Life Domain Cleric, it's here, it's supported, what all exactly do we mean by that?
Right. So basically, Life Domain, which is our most popular cleric domain that we see people choose when they create clerics, it did not get the automatic bonuses that you get from Disciple of Life feature, which is a first level feature, I believe. We just did not give you that bonus automatically calculated. So when you were casting your healing spells, you had to do a little bit extra brain work to kind of figure out, what extra bonuses do I get here, and what level of heals am I actually giving my party. So we set out to make that automatic calculation happen, so that when you're leveling up as a Life Domain Cleric and you're using your healing spells, you can just literally click the roll button and everything's calculated for you. So this, as you've already said, was a long time coming. It was a little bit more difficult, a little less straightforward than it may sound. But that is the support that we have out now as of Tuesday. Life Domain Clerics, Disciple of Life, is supported through all of the spells that we've listed on our changelog, which is pretty much all of the healing spells that you may, typically use as a cleric.
I think it's so interesting that we have, it's just a number. It's just add a couple digits. It's not a big deal. Just, add those extra numbers. And one of the interesting things is it was not straightforward. We had some issues with our inflexible spell system to be able to get it to work with these modifiers on a class. So these things didn't talk to each other previously. We had little issues with getting that number right with the spell level. So actually being able to tie this class specific thing with the spell level you're casting it at and get that to communicate and get those numbers available meant that we had to do a little bit of extra work to communicate through those. And whenever we have a project that has a little extra work, it gets stuck in, is this the priority we need to be working on? Are we going to stop this other work in order to get to this? And I sort of call that, the prioritization hell. You might be stuck sort of right there on the next line, waiting to get to the top, and then something else jumps on top of you. And that's sort of where a Life Domain sat for a long time, is sort of like right there. We talked about it, but it never got over the hump.
Sure. And we're actually going to do a show here in a couple of weeks as well, or as we like to call it in DDB timeline terms, soonish. About sort of feedback, where we're looking for it, how it sort of processes, all that good stuff. So you guys can sort of get a look at the sort of the assembly line for making sure that your needs and wants are supported kind of works. But sort of like you were saying, not straightforward, a lot of different systems, not necessarily talking to each other. So can we, can I get you guys to deep dive just like a little bit on that? You know, obviously they don't need to see the entire Cyberdyne circuitry, you know, but I'd love a little more insight into like, well, why doesn't adding this number, why isn't it the same as adding this, you know, the spell bonus?
Sure.
So I'll kind of jump in on this one, if you don't mind. You know, our system that creates a whole picture of a character is a very like layered data system, and there are steps that we have to take in order to derive all of the values that make up your final character. When you have your items, your class features all chosen, all your ability modifiers picked out, so we sort of calculate all those things in steps. And spells are a particularly complex data system, which we have been, you know, sort of diving into what can we do better there. Of course, every time we have to touch anything with the spell data. But specifically, the spell data that is derived was not in a very good place as far as just the data, how things talk to each other. That it could actually get those values that it needed to know that, hey, this class feature provides this extra bonus to these specific spells. So it took a lot of sort of just planning and even just mapping out how our systems talk to each other to find the best path that did not disrupt other systems we have in place, and was also scalable for future support, because, you know, there's always new rules and things that roll out, or new subclasses, or new fancy items that, you know, touch these specific rules. So we have to keep those things in mind when we're, you know, deciding how to create systems to support these rules.
Well, and I always appreciate, and Jason, I'll have you chime in too, but I do always appreciate that sort of going off the saying of you know, forest for the trees and vice versa. I feel like this team is very sort of like, how will this affect the whole forest with solutions versus like, oh, everyone's really interested in this tree right now. Like, how do we, you know, how do we focus in on this, like this one little bit entirely? No, it's like this whole ecosystem that sort of has to balance out and also be able to grow and continue.
Yeah, and actually, I'm curious to hear like this piece, this life domain piece. Are there other things that this is going to help make easier as you guys develop other features from other books?
Definitely think we've learned from this one of ways that we can take smaller steps to get some of those other features fixed. I think one of them that we've talked about where this is pretty similar is the evocation wizard, and where that kind of damage increase for your evocation spells. And again, that one's a little weird because it's only one die of your damage that gets increased. There's just interesting things there. We do know, like, one of the things I had mentioned earlier and I'd sort of, you know, glossed over is the spell system. It's rigid. It doesn't, you can't add extra spell slots. You can't go just pick whatever spell you want out of whatever class. It was the very first system created back in the early days when D&D Beyond was first being thought of. This nice little history lesson is it was the first thing created, and it has served its purpose at this point. But there's also things we'd love to build out and improve upon that system so that we have more flexibility, such as Bard being able to take a wizard spell just at whenever, why not? Like those types of things should be available, and it is something that we're definitely talking about and considering. Yeah. And how do we fit this in? For my job, working with the product team, you met Pat Bachman one time, is really thinking about how do we get these things on the roadmap to work on next? What's the most important? And really get into that thing of getting the things that you as users want out to you. And that's really what we're thinking about every day when we're trying to get stuff done.
Well, and first of all, shout out to Melly for taking my cat for the day. She switched cameras. And if you're just joining us, hey, we're talking a little bit about what's gone into the Life Domain Cleric update on the show. Appreciate you guys being here very much. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in. We're definitely going to make time to get to those questions. I forgot to sort of encourage that at the top. But again, thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out. Please get those questions in, and I want to make sure that we get to them. Is there anything, Jason, you sort of talked about that sort of like there are lots of things that we would like to be doing and sort of like enjoy evolving. Is there anything on the wish list on pure? This is pure speculation, baby. This isn't even on the soonish roadmap. But without putting your job at risk,
Sure.
or getting a weird phone call from the fandom CEO. Are there any? Do you guys have any like wish list items in that continued evolution that you'd love to see?
As a DM, I do play the game a ton. I love D&D. As a DM, I want to be able to just send stuff to my players, right? I just want to send, and I'm sure everybody knows this kind of thing, but just send an item, send money, send whatever. Just take that whole piece where I have to tell, okay, you need to go to this spot, you need to click on this thing in order to get that on your sheet. That's something I'm super looking forward to, and hopefully soonish, even more than soonish, further than soonish, we get the opportunity to work on that and make that happen.
Infinite soonish. No, that does sound absolutely rad. As we before we sort of get into sort of like lessons learned and sort of other concerns that you guys are looking ahead at, you guys had mentioned to me sort of the idea of I just realized why I'm so confused. I keep notes for like, okay, these are the interesting things they've said to me, and these are sort of the things I'd like to talk about with them. And I had the wrong doc open, and I was like, why do I want to give them notes from my home game? That doesn't make any sense at all.
This is now just, hey, Joe has some questions about how D&D works. Can you please help?
Yeah, here's the thing. So in our home game, like, will we break Rime of the Frost Maiden if we keep befriending everything? Because that's how it's working.
No, you'll just make it better, Joe. So
I think so too. I mean, the polar bears, friends. The sorry, I'm just gonna start spoiling Rime of the Frost Maiden. This monster, friends. This beast, friends. This mummy, friends. Friends with all of them. No, I wanted to talk to you guys about I like playing friendly D&D. I want to talk to you guys about like the idea of tech debt. That's one concept that you brought up, which was a big challenge with putting this together. What that mean? Because again, I'm a dumb idiot.
So tech debt is a term that we use that just describes a scenario where you're trying to get things done, we say quick and dirty, or break things and move fast to get something cool working. But a lot of times what that does is create work in the future that you have to come back to. If it's not optimized for performance, if it's not actually supporting all the rules, if it's not scalable for data to populate in the way that we expect. Those are all things that we sort of group as tech debt. So tech debt is inevitable. You always will have some. There's always stuff that you're trying to go back and do better. Sometimes there's code from a long time ago that it does its job, like we were sort of saying with spells. But eventually it won't do its job. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. But it's a fun game to figure out whether to move fast and break things just to get cool stuff out, or to spend the time and really build these big systems out that will support the forest.
Absolutely. It's a question of how much risk do you want to put in there? How much do you want to put on your credit card? We'll put it that way, and have to come back and pay. There's always the interest. You're always going to have to pay it off. Is it the right time to get that fun thing, or is it something we have to put off for a little bit longer?
No, that's a great way of putting it. So, you guys have been talking a little bit about like lessons learned, and sort of, I've got one more question, and then we'll get into chat questions, Melly, if that works for you. Are there any sort of like trouble spots or features or anything that you guys sort of see as like coming next? Maybe not as dramatic as the saga of the Life Domain Cleric, but are there any sort of features that are going to maybe concern spots that you guys are looking at coming up?
One of the ones that always pops up to my head whenever we do this is dark vision stacking. Any of you out there that have ever had problems with dark vision stacking, I'm sorry. We've now tried to hit that one half a dozen times, I believe, and every time we make something else break, I'm pretty sure. So that one's definitely one that's gotten a little weird. We try to fix that, and hopefully we get that one in the near future, that we'll have an opportunity to look at it and get it fixed.
Yeah, another one that comes to mind is sort of a future thing that we're going to be starting to work on again soon-ish, maybe more-ish than soon, is temporary effects. Not something that I think is going to be a huge challenge for us for a lot of different reasons, but part of it is even just that UI, how to actually present these things and how to know when to trigger these temporary effects. Like, when are you raging as a barbarian versus not? And I think that's going to be a really fun feature to eventually work on, but it will definitely provide us with a lot of challenges.
Right on. Well, hey, Melly, I think it's time. These two look comfortable. I've softballed them enough. Let's throw them to the wolves.
Yeah. First of all, one of my favorite things is that as you both have been talking, and this happens every week now that we have these amazing devs on the show, is that you've answered a bunch of the questions that came in earlier already, which is awesome. So we're gonna jump to one here from Mergon.
We can do funsies too, Melly. If they're like, "What's their favorite pudding?" Like, cool, let's do it.
Well, today people don't seem to be into fun. There's no fun today, not yet anyways. I'll keep an eye out. But Mergon, are there plans to add character session logs to the character sheet? We could track details of campaigns that we're in from session to session. So, like change logs, that sort of thing, I think is sort of what Mergon's going for here.
I want to jump in on that one because I do have some information about that. One of the things I can say is that it's not soonish. What I can say, though, is that we are actively working on a project right now to start keeping track of that information so that when we do have the opportunity to present that to you, we will have data from soon. We will have data from a few weeks from now or a few months from now that then you will then be able to see all those character changes and whatnot. So we're going to try to start keeping track of that data better so that we have something to be able to show when we can actually work on that UI to present to you. That is something that is in conversations, and we're actively doing work to help support that.
Right on. That's a pretty solid answer.
DMW 71, Jason or Julie, can you please lend some insight into content management functionality going into the character builders? Right now, for those watching that aren't quite sure what we mean here, is that you can set, to block certain sources, and then your party that you're sharing content with can't go look at an adventure in the digital book and see what is there. But they can still use all that content in the character builder. And we have this question of, can I block certain things in that character builder? So is that something you can give some insight into?
Well, I can jump into one of those. It's not at the moment a priority. I do know that there are many people asking for that. I'm a DM, and I understand some of those concerns for sure. What I can say is it's not as straightforward as it seems to be, as some of those people might own those things. So you have to be considerate of that. We have content sharing. The DM doesn't necessarily own those things. How can he say that the person who's sharing that can't go see those things? Like, how do we make those things work? That's not the thing that's preventing us from working on it, but it is some of the thoughts that we've had about it as we've thought about how would we go about making this work in a reasonable way? Who should be able to see things? Who shouldn't? When should those things be shown? When shouldn't they? And I definitely think that is important. One thing I can say is I have been talking with some other teams, and that is not directly on our team, as that interacts with a little bit of that content management side of things, which is Andrew and Daniel's team that handle that. And as soon as we had that sort of functionality available, we would try to jump on that as quickly as we could cross team. The other thing is that I have talked with them, hopefully, about getting our language problem fixed, so that we can actually start sourcing languages, and you don't see all the languages every time you pick a new campaign setting. You could say, I don't want those languages from the Magic the Gathering on there. I know that's a small, tiny piece of this, but hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that in the near future.
Right on. Julie, Julie, anything to add on that?
I think Jason pretty much covered it all there. When we initially first talked about having content management as a feature, we did talk about all of the sort of big picture all the way down to the granular choices that you might make that you want to share or not share with your players. So there is a bit of a plan for each of those things, but as Jason said, it's not necessarily on our urgent priority to get those things in place. There's a lot of other really cool stuff in the roadmap right now. But those things they're there. They're definitely part of the big picture of content management.
And also know that it causes us more pain than even some of you, because I have to make tests and do things on my account, and then I'm playing and people are like, can I take this ridiculously broken homebrew that you have in here? No, you cannot. We'll move on. So yeah.
That was me trying to break our system. Don't touch it.
Don't touch that.
That was Melly just pushing boundaries. Just pushing boundaries. And it's interesting to me at the risk of like coming off like I'm playing defense for the team. This is just something I find interesting because the feedback you'll often see, especially on dev update comments and stuff like that. And if you're watching on YouTube and commenting from the future, I appreciate you being here. And always appreciate these conversations. But something I noticed, people go, oh, well, if you want to do this, just do that, or just do this. And, and it's like, yes, but I think the interesting thing to really pick up from Jason, Julie, what you guys are talking about is like every let's just do this that you put down, like sprouts off 10 more questions. And 15 other issues that kind of need to be looked at. So just this weird ecosystem is always really fascinating to me.
I do want to say,
Beyond
though,
is a whole bunch of dominoes.
absolutely.
And if you put one in a wrong place, it's going to make a mess of everything.
I do want to say, though, we are interested in what your thoughts are on just do this. What would you like to see? And this does bring up a point that comes up. We have a new portal that we're trying to put together using Product Board. I believe you can find it in the forums, and we'll try to make it a bit more visible for people. But to go over there and say,
not yet, but it will be in the future.
Will be soon. That we want to know what you're thinking. Thank you, Melly. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know how you want to see that work so that we can make it in that way that will be beneficial for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Melly, I think we've got time for one or two more questions, if any exist.
Yeah. So this is one that we get for different teams. Like everybody always asks this and wants to get a different team's perspective. So Pat's talked about it, Andrew's talked about it. So Helgiga would like to know what you guys think about sidekicks and sidekick character sheets. How does that look for your team?
So sidekicks is something that's actually going to be really fun to work on. We have a lot of different ideas that are sort of brainstorm right now on how we want to present that. But when we get a chance to work on it, we're going to really do some good internal play testing to make sure that the system that we have makes sense for lots of levels of players and different ways that you could use the sidekick system. I don't know if it's going to be like some version of the character sheet, some version of a monster stat block, something more like our vehicle system, or something totally new that we haven't thought of yet. But there is plans to get this into the gameplay, our system, so that people can actually use sidekicks and potentially even play as a sidekick. That's something that we've talked about, if that would be a useful experience. I know there are some people who like to use sidekicks that way as sort of a mini character to try something out as a playtest type thing. So yeah, sidekicks are a fun topic. We easily go down, a rabbit hole when this comes up. It will derail our whole meeting because it's just a cool thing.
It's definitely something I'm interested in. Again, as the person making their way through Icewind Dale right now, building an ultimate alliance of friendship. These are features that I am very, very interested in. Jason, do you have anything to add on that one?
I do, because what we've called the sidekick system is actually what we want to use to support a lot of these rules of like these things that can improve as you improve. Right now, our extras pane with the creatures is not the most flexible, and what we really want is to be able to find something that works, that you can create, that you can reference from your sheet, but also gives you essentially a new sheet, and how we might go about doing that. It is in the plans. It's on the roadmap. That does not mean that it is near the top at the moment. We would love to do it, but it's also a lot of work. It is essentially a creation of a new character sheet in a way. So those are a new character sheet and builder. And so we want to make sure we get that done right, and that it's not not sort of half done, because what we had in the past, we had some sidekicks that came in with the essentials kit that we had tried to push into the monster system, and it didn't quite work well. And now they're even more expandable, and we want to make sure that that is something that is fully supported and not partially supported or even wrong most of the time.
Right on. Well, I think we have time for one more question quickly, Melly, and as she's bringing that up. Again, thank you guys all so much for watching. We really appreciate it. I hope you've gotten some cool insight and just enjoyed this. I'm really liking these sort of deep dives into sort of behind the curtain on as to like what the team's doing and how and why. I think is pretty cool. I hope you guys find it interesting as well. Again, Candlekeep Mysteries on the D&D Beyond Marketplace. Grab that, and also make sure you pick up your pre-order. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. It's going to come with all the cool usual fun pre-order perks and all that good stuff. Melly, what question's taking us out?
It's very important. K Silverbow for the guests. What is your favorite dinosaur and why?
It's always important. This is always very important. Jason, this will make or break the community's first impression of you. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Well, I have to say my favorite dinosaur is the Velociraptor, and it's only for the very first scene of Jurassic Park. It has nothing to do with the rest of Jurassic Park, but that scene with Alan Grant and the boy is what makes that my favorite dinosaur. That moment makes me happy. So
that traumatized you as a child, didn't it?
Yes, it did, and I appreciated it.
Maybe across the belly. Solid answer. Julie, favorite dinosaur?
Oh man, I mean, dinosaurs are awesome, so it's hard to pick a favorite. But again, mine also comes from Jurassic Park. It's the crazy, like that little, I don't know what they're called. The lizard with the crazy neck gill thing.
Oh, the Dilophosaur, yeah.
Yeah, that.
Also a very solid pick. Spit and Poison, just like Jules does in her real life. Melly, have we checked in with you on favorite dinosaur?
Yes, we have. That was my first time on here. It's the plesiosaur.
I wasn't listening, and I apologize.
Because it still exists. I will go down with the conspiracy theory of the Loch Ness Monster being real and it being a plesiosaur. Don't add me.
I think that's completely fair. Mine continues to be a Triceratops because Slag is my favorite Dinobot. Let us know in chat, favorite dinosaur, hit us up with them, or if you're watching again in the future on YouTube, hey, let us know what you guys want to see coming up. Once I send these two back to their cave, what do you want them working on with their dark rooms and their bright screens? Just like little albino crickets in a cave. Too much coffee already for this early in the dev update. I apologize. And let us know favorite dinosaurs. Easily the most important part of this conversation. Thank you guys so much. Later today, we'll be back streaming. We're talking two things near and dear to my heart. We're talking hags. We're talking oozes. Be there. Thanks, everybody.